Welcome back to Stadium Review episode number 26, as today we're in Seattle, Washington, to see the Seattle Mariners compete at T-Mobile Ballpark. The Seattle Mariners were originally founded back in 1977 and originally played at the Kingdome, which was an indoor multi-purpose stadium, and also hosted the Seattle Seahawks of the NFL. As multi-purpose stadiums were kind of phased out near the turn of the century, the Mariners decided to build a new ballpark, and in 1999 they opened what was then Safeco Field. In 2019, the stadium entered a new naming rights deal as it's now named T-Mobile Ballpark. It has a current capacity of 47,929 and is one of the 7 ballparks in the MLB to have a retractable roof. However, this roof is different from all the other roofs in the MLB because this is more of an umbrella style, where the roof comes over the ballpark and it's still open on the sides to the outside, as the inside of the ballpark isn't fully climate controlled. It just keeps the bad weather off the fans and the playing surface, and in Seattle, they do have their fair share of rain. When the roof is opened, it's stored on the east side of the stadium over railroad tracks. And there's long tracks that go across the top of the stadium where the roof slides over. And despite the roof, the ballpark is still a retro modern style, as it has the facade and exterior of a lot of old ballparks, but at the same time, it has a lot of the amenities and the features that a new hyper-modern ballpark would have. The stadium's located south of downtown, and there's plenty of different ways to get there. I'm a big fan of public transit, and there is a transit line that sits underneath the 3-piece telescoping roof on the east side of the ballpark that's super close to the stadium. However, we spent most of the day in downtown Seattle, so we took the train down early for the day and explored quite a bit before the ball game itself. The Mariners Stadium sits just south of where the Seattle Seahawks play in Lumen Field, and that field's also shared by the Seattle Sounders of the MLS and the OL Reign of the NWSL. Lumen Field stands on the current site of where the Kingdome used to be, and you can definitely tell that there's some similarities between the facades and the brick outsides of the two buildings. It keeps a nice consistency between the stadiums in this industrial section of Seattle. The stadium is often referred to as the house that Griffey built, since King Griffey Jr. played at the Kingdome for the Mariners from 1989 to 1999 and was one of their biggest draws and most popular fan favorite players. And there's a large statue outside of the main gates behind home plate commemorating him. And for those of you that don't know, I'm originally actually from the Cincinnati area where Ken Griffey Jr. is from, and after leaving Seattle, he went on to play at the Cincinnati Reds for quite some time and was definitely an icon there as well. So it was really cool to see someone that I grew up around with so much with the Reds be honored so well out in Seattle. And I do really love this main home plate entry of this large circular atrium. It definitely has an old nostalgic feel to it that definitely hints at the retro feel of the ballpark. And coming into the stadium, once you get into that atrium, there's this large chandelier that hangs in the middle of it. And if you look real close, you can tell the chandelier is completely made out of baseball bats. The concourse itself definitely has more of an old school vibe to it, with the large steel beams coming down, and it's kind of narrow, but not too bad. But it also does have a lot of really nice touches. I really like this compass on the ground that kind of alludes to the Mariners' primary logo that's worn on their sleeve patch. Another cool element on the concourse is this statue commemorating Dave Niehaus, who is the play-by-play announcer for the Mariners from their inception in 1977 all the way until he passed away in 2010. And they pay a lot of tribute to their past all around the concourse. One of my other favorite parts is this mural that commemorates the 1995 ALDS Game 5, where the Seattle Mariners walked it off with Ken Griffey Jr. coming first to home on a double down the left field line. It's an extremely iconic moment in Mariners history, and to be honest, all it can make me think about is that Macklemore song. I also really appreciated the Mariners Hall of Fame that was on the main level concourse along the third baseline, as it showcased a lot of elements from the Mariners' history. And this is completely free to anyone with a ticket to the ball game. And of course, I had to be a good Reds fan and get my picture with the cutout of Ken Griffey Jr. And just for some clarification here, since you see I'm in my Toronto gear today, the Mariners were playing the Blue Jays that night. I do really like the Mariners team, but I am a bigger fan of the Blue Jays. So in this night, I was going for the Blue Jays. Sorry about that, all you Mariners fans out there. The concourse here also has a lot of great food options on it. We found that one of the biggest attractions were these garlic fries, so we tried them out and they were delicious. Makes sense why the sign says world famous on it. We also grabbed some German sausages. I got onions on mine and my girlfriend got sauerkraut on hers, and those were also really good. This combination together of the fries and sausages, fantastic. I don't like beer, but I really do like cider, and we also found a local cider that was really good, and I absolutely love the branding around the can. T-Mobile Ballpark seating is laid out with 3 main decks, wrapping from right center field, all around the diamond, and all the way down to the left field foul pole. And in between the second deck and the top third deck, there is some private seating that wraps around there. And there's no second deck right behind home plate because that's where the press box is located. There's also no second deck out in right field because it's all private seating out there, with some different luxury suites. There's a large tower also out in right center field once the seats stop. And hanging high above the right field seats are the banners that commemorate the history and accomplishments of the club. I was also a big fan of how the roof of the stadium had nice lights on it, and the lights would periodically change throughout the game and match what was going on the big video board. And since the Seattle-Tacoma airport isn't too far away from the stadium, you frequently saw planes flying in over that right center field roof. Something that's really unusual is out in center field above the batter's eye, there's a separate section of seats there. You don't see that too often in MLB ballparks where there's seats out in center field. And above those seats is the big video board. The left field seats are probably the most interesting in the ballpark. They're all bleachers and they're about the same level as the center field seats, so they're quite a bit higher than the left field wall. But it creates a really unique aesthetic with those out there, and especially with the track above it for the roof to slide on and how the lights come up. I just think looking at it, it's a really cool looking and unique section. Below those bleacher seats in left field, there's also a really nice vintage looking scoreboard that they manually update throughout the game. Both team bullpens are located in left field and run almost the entire distance of the left field wall. And behind those bullpens, they have the T-Mobile pen, which is an opportunity for the fans to get real up close to the bullpen, and I really like how close you can get to the players and even interact with them here. And a little bit further down towards center field, they have the patio at the pen, which is this large patio that fans can mingle and congregate on. And to be honest, this is probably my least favorite part of the ballpark, and really hurt the atmosphere, I think. Because to me, it just felt like all the fans here were just here to talk and mingle and spend about $100 on alcohol for the night. As it seemed that nobody at all was watching the game, and people were just messing around and not paying attention. And I understand why ballparks have these areas to appeal to different crowds, but I feel like for the people sitting there just mingling, there's a lot cheaper options to mingle and drink in the evenings besides going to an MLB game. And if you can't tell, I was very annoyed being out there and did not spend much time exploring that area of the ballpark. When walking around the concourse, I noticed that there's a lot of great angles to the playing surface from the top of the seating bowl. And if there's huge crowds on hand, they can probably use these as standing room only sections, because they still offer a great view of the game. During the game, we sat down the third base line, kind of out towards left field. And it was a pretty good view from out there, I really enjoyed it. Something that I found really interesting is they had a camera on a wire, kind of like they do in the NFL. And it was going down that third base line over the seats, zipping back and forth. And I don't think I've ever seen that at a baseball game before. The atmosphere in the ballpark was pretty good, except for that center field area that I mentioned before, but we won't talk about that anymore. Mariners fans are really dedicated to their ball club. And the in-game experience is also great. I really enjoyed Mariner Moose. I also just really like Moose in general, so their mascot being a moose was awesome. They had a really great fireworks display that would go off every time the Mariners hit a home run, and all those came out of that left field bleacher section. And the crowd was into it the entire ball game, cheering and really engaged the entire time. And Mariners fans have had it really rough. They currently have the longest playoff drought in American professional sports at 20 years. However, they're hoping to break that this year, as they've got a great team, an electric atmosphere, and the team has a lot of fun playing games, which makes going to the games a treat for people in Seattle. So I will definitely be cheering for them from afar for a good playoff push coming to the end of the season. The game that we went to was actually back in August 2021. It's taking me about a full year to get to editing this one because I do have a very large backlog for video editing. But for starters, I was really hoping for a great uniform matchup because these teams have two of the best uniforms I think in the whole league. In an ideal world, Toronto would have been wearing their beautiful baby blues, and the Mariners in their teal Northwest green jerseys. But of course, that just wasn't the case, as Toronto was in their boring gray roads and Seattle was in their boring home whites. Come on guys, you really just ruined my dream there. But that's okay, nonetheless, it was a great ball game, and the beginning was very back and forth. But that all changed in the bottom of the 7th when Seattle really broke the game open and took a 6-3 lead. However, one of the best parts of the game had to be when this reliever came in, Kirby Snead for Toronto. That is some fantastic flow that guy has. Love it. And the Mariners were able to hold on to their lead for the 9-3 victory over the Blue Jays. And we actually got a game ball during the game that was fouled into our section. The guy next to us got it. He already got a ball early in the game in batting practice, and so he gave this one to my girlfriend and I. So big thank you to him, that was really cool, and the first time I've actually gotten a game ball during an MLB game. And of course, for every baseball stadium, I had to get a baseball from the team shop, so I got a simple one with just the Mariners logo on it. And that's going to do it for this episode today. If you enjoyed, be sure to click like and subscribe so you can see lots more stadium review episodes just like this one. And I'll see you again soon for another stadium review. Thanks. Bye.